G'day there ladies and gents, Mark Wallace here from Econisis. Hope you're all doing well today. First video here on the channel, I thought I'd take advantage of the time to do a little bit of a commentary on a report that was released by the Australian Institute on the 11th of May, so about 6 days ago, in which they talked about income inequality in Australia. Now, this has been a topical issue globally, and we've seen the distribution of growth benefits disproportionately benefiting and favouring those within the top 10% of income profiles. And that's been a trend and a commonality we've seen pretty much across every major economy and OECD country. However, Australia, it has been on steroids. Over 95 or almost 95% of all the benefits of growth in the decade from 2009 to 2019, i.e. the post-GFC period, up and through to the onset of COVID, vested with the top 10% of the community, of the society, with only 7% vesting with the bottom 90%. Now, there's a number of things and comments that have been raised about this, partly that, this is a reflection of the fact that, minimum wage hasn't kept up. That's actually not true. Minimum wage is only a symptom of a wider income suppression policy under the previous government, where the reduction or the suppression of income growth was an active policy of the previous government, and this is a big reflection of that. There's actually only a relatively small proportion of the population, of that bottom 90%, so to speak, that's actually on the minimum wage. Even McDonald's and those types of providers are often commonly delivering sort of above minimum wage incomes to workers. So it's not as much of a minimum wage question as it is more of a question of the fact that we've had this wage suppression growth under the previous government post GFC. In some countries in the EU, in Canada, with income growth during that period of time of upwards of 45% of wage and salary growth over the decade. In Australia, it was less than 18%, so almost a third of what it was in some of these other countries. And that's got some flow-on effects now to where we're seeing some of the cost of living crises, because where other countries have a bit of more of a buffer that have got them through things like the COVID pandemic and now the cost of living crisis, Australia hasn't had that, and that's because we were left vulnerable by the previous government and their actively stated wage suppression policies, as stated by the previous finance minister and previous treasurer. The other thing to understand is also the fact that while we have seen this very, very poor result in income equality in Australia compared to other countries, the fact that the top 10% continue to be and really be the focus of the beneficiaries of growth compared to previous decades is really a reflection of globalization and of the increased specialization of economic activity and output. As that activity specializes in fewer and fewer and smaller numbers of people, let alone organizations, are delivering step change technological and systems benefits to the economy, that's resulting in this hyper concentration of wealth. So in some respects, it is a reflection, the wider trend of this hyper concentration and specialization of economic activity, of high-end economic activity in fewer and fewer people, seems to be a massive contributor at the top end. But the big story for Australia is, if you spend a decade suppressing wage growth and wages of the population, you get these types of income inequality issues, where most of the other countries around the world are going forward and generally improving, or at least not deteriorating to the same degree, compared to Australia, where we basically just fell off a cliff in terms of income equality. Look, we've had a change of government now. We've got some stronger wage pressures. Biggest risk now is that the RBA takes up the mantle of the previous government and goes through using interest rates as it's a continuation. Wage suppression policy 2.0, so to speak. Hopefully they see the light and decide that that's not a good outcome for anybody, including the economy as a whole. But that's it for today. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you soon.